Hello guys, and welcome to a new video. So in this video what we will do is gonna be kind of like displaying all users. So imagine you're the admin, you're someone who has the privilege to see all users who are registered. We're actually gonna access our database and display this list of users uh, on our page. So essentially what's gonna happen is we will, unlike sign up where the data came from the app into the database, this is going to be quite the opposite. So we're going to actually take this data and display it on the page. So this data has like ID, name, email, phone. We might not display all of them. We're just going to maybe display a couple of them on that page. So let's get started. On this page, what I will do is I will add a new file, and then I'm just going to call it users.php. So this users.php, let's start with adding the PHP tags in here. So what we will do for this file is, let's first of all just echo like h3 list of all users. Okay, let's close our h3 in here. And first of all, this needs to contact the database. And because it needs to access the database, we need to include our db.php. So include db.php. Okay, you need to do that. Okay, so this will allow us to actually access the database, select the database, and then essentially it's going to give us the ability to get access to the tables, and then from those tables we're just going to, in this case it's only one table by the way, but essentially it's going to give us the ability to access the table and retrieve all the data from the table. So again, the idea is really simple. There is no change from all the examples we've been looking at. You define a SQL variable. Now in this case, I'm just gonna retrieve everything from this table. So the SQL is just gonna be select star from users. That's it. And then to access or to execute this table, you need MySQL I query. You pass it the connection variable, which is in this file, as well as this SQL variable. And because this gives me some results back because it's a select, I'm actually going to store this in a variable called results. So this way it's easier for me to deal with this guy rather than with the variable. So now recall for a table, the way you would do table in HTML, because we're going to display everything as a table. Well, first of all, let's just display them, and then we're going to worry about putting that in a table. Okay, just for simplicity. So now there is a built-in function. Well, first of all, let's kind of because as of now we have some rows in our table, but let's say you don't know, you have to check, you have to make your application always do something like this, and essentially kind of like as we looked into last video, there is the MySQL I num rows, MySQL I num rows, and basically it takes an argument which is the result. So if MySQL I number of rows is greater than 0, so it means there are users. This is what we're gonna do pretty much. And in the end, let's just actually have I think we had it in yeah, let's just add a link back to the sign up page. So users, by the way, the way the way we're doing things right now is we're just echoing this, but typically you would need like a file. It's called like footer.php, and then you can just include footer because all the pages will have the same footer, so all the pages will include that file, and same thing for header. So but you get the point. Okay, so essentially for now, if the number of rows is greater than 0, so it means in here that there are some registered users. So what we're going to do for this one is there is a built-in function in PHP called MySQL I fetch array. So essentially this result, in this case, from our existing status, it's a two-dimensional array from like the from the perspective of PHP. So now essentially what we're going to do is this two-dimensional array will have a key value, key value, key value, key value, and that's for every single row. So pretty much we have how many? 7 or maybe 6 uh, associative arrays where the key is the column and then the value is whatever value is inside of that column for every single row in the table. And PHP makes it easy for us to navigate through this table because with MySQL fetch array, essentially what's going to happen is each row is going to be an array, and then with the while loop, every single one is just going to actually be returned as a result of this function. So one thing you could do with this one is you can say while the variable row equals to this guy. So and then obviously it takes result. So now this result, which is this table, is just going to be PHP is going to take care of splitting that row by row, and then each row we're going to actually be storing this in a variable called row. So row is going to be an associative array where again key value, and pretty much all what you have to do is just display the values in whatever way you want. So for example, for this one thing you could do is you can pretty much just like echo, it's just gonna be row, well, let's just say row, and then again this is just gonna be like same keys. So you can say for instance like name and then space, and then let's have row of phone for instance, and then like a br tag for example. So now let's actually test this out. So I'm just gonna copy this link and then let's say users. So there you go. Here's actually the user and here is the phone number, and then obviously we just actually break. So you can see that's how we were able to print this, and in the end, once everything was printed, we echoed the link to this guy. Now obviously if you want to display things better, you can actually like use an array for this one, and that's something we can do right now, but this is actually the idea. You have name, email address. So even before this, one thing you could do is you can like echo, let's say like an h4, it's gonna be name, close that h4, and let's have non-breaking spaces. Well, it's gonna be well, let's have non-breaking space in here, space, non-breaking space. Let's just copy this, and then you can have the next one is phone. Okay, so you can see now yeah, we don't have a semicolon here. So you can see name, phone, and then obviously you can format this, so pretty much like adding more spaces or things like that, so it looks like better for viewing. Now obviously a table for this might look better, and that's why in the last homework for you guys I just asked you to actually kind of display the output in table format, because that's obviously possible. So in order to actually convert this into a table, let's actually have the way I would like to do this is like first of all recall from a table. You have like table to display things nicely. You have border equal 1. Obviously that's HTML, so I'm gonna change it later on, but just to show you. So every row has a tr, and then you close the tr, and then every column is a td, and then you close the td. So in this case pretty much like if you have, like 2 rows and 3 columns, you will have TD, 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 and you just pretty much like copy this and paste it. And it's good practice to just keep this in front of you if you're kind of new to this, because essentially we're gonna just display these no matter what, and then in here we will have the the PHP variables. So here we're gonna actually have the differences. Okay, so now you can have a variable called HTML, for instance, and then this HTML you're gonna pretty much just format it somehow so it always looks like this. So for example, for this one you will have HTML is just gonna pretty much be, first of all, starting with this one. So you will have table border equal, and then you can say again like escape this to 1, and okay, and let's just make, yeah, so that's HTML. And then you can do HTML dot equal for concatenation. It's just gonna be for this one again everything down here. So you will have tr for table row, and then td, and then it's just gonna be, because we already have, I think, name. I'm just gonna actually delete this because it's just gonna be redundant now. So it's just gonna be name, and then we will also have the rest. So you just close now the TD, and then obviously you need another TD for the other one. So it's just gonna be in this case phone number, and then you close the TD, and now that's gonna be for our first row, obviously, correct, because we just have that one. And before I forget, let me do HTML dot equal in the end. That's going to be the closing of the table, because I know otherwise I'm just going to actually forget that. So now, again, if you're not sure what you have, I need a $sign for this one. Always, and obviously I need this one in here. Always like echo this variable HTML. And in this case, obviously, it's just going to look like what line? See, like line 8. Looks like I have, oh, these guys. Looks like I also have a semicolon I need to add. So now you see, now name, phone number. So it means we're on the right track. So now, obviously, the rest of these ones is just going to be just, like we're adding to this one. So now I don't need to echo this one. So now every row in here, or essentially like row, I mean the variable, is just going to be HTML row for the table. So in the echo for this one, it's just going to be down here. I can say HTML dot equal trtd, for instance, and then instead of echoing, I'm just going to have one HTML variable, and then in the end, I will just actually echo the, after the while loop, like in the end, I'm just going to actually echo that HTML variable. And obviously for this one, it's just going to be, paste it in here. So now trtd, it might be confusing, so you have to just really take your time with this one. I mean, you can get it, but because we're just appending to the HTML variable in this case, you gotta take your time with that one. So now I'm just gonna keep appending. So HTML dot equal. It's gonna be I append the row of name, and then I need to close this. So basically it's just going to be close the column and then a new column. So to put this in a new column, and for this one, it's just going to be row phone, and then you actually close the TD, this guy, and I think we just also need to close the row, so TR. So now we closed this one. So one row, so one column, close the row. Let's see what we get if we do something. Okay, so that's good. So row, column. Now one thing you could do with this one is you can obviously play with the table a little bit. So one thing you could do is something like style, and then you close the style. Not really the recommended way of doing this, but I just want to show you how to do that. So table, and then padding is going to be 25 pixels. So obviously that's, kind of like changing. Let's do TR. Let's do TR. Try for TD to kind of change the padding if you want. So it kind of looks like that. And you can see now we put all the data inside of our tables. So in the next video, what we're going to do is, I'm not sure if it's going to be really the next video, but at one point, we're going to add one more column in here to see how we can delete this user or any user. So when we click delete, we're just going to actually run the SQL that's actually corresponds to deleting from our table. So this guy is just going to be removed permanently from the database. Okay, so hope that was helpful. I'll see you guys in the next video.